All right, everybody, this is Sheets, and once again, I'm going to be leading the discussion. Bobby and I are going to be going over the Showdown slate for tonight, which is it should be a fun game, and it should be a fun slate to try to break down. There's probably some pretty standard places you can go, but with all these points and all these plays that are going to be run, there's probably some funny business you can do. So we're gonna try to make heads or tails of it. Bobby, you have any, as I share my screen, you have any overarching takes on the game before we even get into that, we forgot to rub it in on the NBA. We had our one against the spread pick come in, the Thunder. We thought was good against the spread against the Lakers.
Yep.
We haven't coming with a double overtime game and that overtime game, so that worked out.
Do you
have any opinion on the game tonight at all?
That was, by the way, they were down by 20. The Lakers were by 26. That was really weird. I think Arizona's got too big of a. I think this is too big of a spread. I really do. So I actually thought this game was going to be a little higher total. I think it's only because it's Thursday that it's not. But just because we don't have Devontae Adams, I don't think that Arizona should be a 6.5 point favorite at home. I do think Arizona is legit and their defense is better than people think, but I am sort of surprised to see this point spread.
What is the spread?
I would take it was 6.5 for Arizona, so I would take Green Bay in the points if I was betting. Personally,
yeah.
Both these teams, combined, they've won 13 in a row. 6 for Green Bay, 7 for Arizona. This is one of the better football games of the year, not much less Thursday night football games.
Yep. So that's the elephant in the room, right? So with Devontae Adams out, what do we do? What's your initial take?
Well, we're gonna have to pick some receiver from Green Bay probably. MVS is still questionable, but he seems like a natural one. We also have no Lazard, which is just crazy. So MVS and Randall Cobb, even St. Brown too, like all these guys are going to make a little bit of sense just with their prices and what's happening. So you want the Green Bay receivers. I think that I would prefer MVS number one. It'd be close between he and Cobb actually. But I don't mind playing both of them with Rodgers, with Murray on the other side. You can afford to do it. And instead of playing Murray to anybody, maybe, also I think that, you get some argument here for Aaron Jones because those guys are out, and then AJ Dillon as the backup running back, pass catching back, especially if they're down. AJ Dillon has a 31.5 yard rush prop, and Aaron Jones has 59.5. That's pretty close considering the one guy is 9K and one guy's 1,400. And yeah, there is a 38.5 receiving yard prop for Aaron Jones, but there's a 9.5 one for AJ Dillon. So he does have him a bunch there, but I do think that AJ Dillon is a really interesting play as well. Those are the value guys I'm looking at. And then spend ups, I want the quarterbacks. So that's sort of where I'm looking right now.
Well, I'll just read you what it says as of today. Just 20 minutes ago, it says MVS is trending toward an absence for Thursday's game.
So that's going to leave it as Randall Cobb. Now I'm starting to want to take back my thing. I think Tanyan is going to be a good play as well because it's just they're going to have to throw the ball to somebody. You know what I mean? Tanyan seems like he makes a lot of sense. Mercedes Lewis, a little bit cheaper. Like you could take a shot with him, but I think you're going to want to try and get the best back, the guys they have available. So Randall Cobb is going to be through the roof owned. And so will probably St. Brown, maybe even Amari Rodgers. You could even play all three of these guys, to be honest with you, because they're so cheap. But right now I would lean, Randall Cobb, St. Brown, I don't know what else to say about that without knowing for sure about MVS.
So, for example, and this is again, you have to think this way at Showdown. So, and I'm not going to play this lineup, but like if you did this, for example, if you put say Rodgers in the captain and used all three receivers and played Kyler Murray and Hopkins, you're splitting this with 700,000 people.
Right.
So I'm just wondering what's a decent way to get different in some way. And I think what you could do is when you say, well, who else are they going to throw the ball to? Maybe they just try to run it. Maybe they try to run it down Arizona's throat. And maybe you play both running backs or something like that.
I'm open to that idea. It's going to be hard to run the ball in Arizona, but they looked early on like you could run it on them. They've been really a lot better since then, since the first few weeks of the season. But I'm open to that idea. I think that it's gonna, like, I would consider more like something like trying to play one of these weird guys as the captain, whether it's Randall Cobb or St. Brown. And then I think maybe what the answer would be to try to do is to try to force in some Arizona receiver. Maybe Rondale Moore at 4,800 makes a lot of sense. Hopkins, by the way, also questionable tonight.
That's right.
I don't think you need to try to fill Hopkins. I don't think you need to try fill for that. It's so impossible to do showdown slates early in the day. Like, it really is.
Yeah.
And there's general ideas and ways you can construct that we can talk about, but you can't really talk about plays with like 5 questionable guys when it's going to completely change the entire slate. You know what I mean?
Again, just this because the news came out in the last hour or so, it does say that Hopkins is expected to play.
Yeah, okay, that's good. That's good to know. James Conner is going to be lower owned than Chase Edmonds. I don't mind playing him over Chase Edmonds if you play the Arizona is going to be from a head angle. They are expensive, but I think more and more, I think Rondale Moore might be the guy. He's probably going to be the lowest owned of the receivers. He's cheap at 4,800. We've seen them try to get him involved every week. Last week, they didn't throw the ball that much, but they didn't really need to throw the ball after the first quarter. It was kind of a weird game, but I do think that they will try to get him involved in some plays, both rushing and passing. Although they threw the ball in 3 times. I'm sorry. I think they'll give him opportunities both on some sweeps and potentially some downfield plays or some little screen plays. So I think I would probably side with him as of right now as my favorite receiver for Arizona. And I do think that's one way to get at least a little bit different. Zach Ertz, because of his price, may not be owned as much, but maybe I'm really starting to lean more maybe to Tanyan or Randall Cobb or even St. Brown would be a reasonable captain update. And then you can play the studs everywhere else. A captain option, I should say. But it is hard to know this early in the day. What takes do you have other than I like the running back idea, playing both of them. I think it's interesting, but I tend to like to play the 2 running backs more so from a team that I expect to, that you're expecting to have the lead and sort of controlling the game. I don't want to play both running backs for Arizona, but I do think that, Chase Edmonds will be more popular. James Conner has more goal line equity.
That's what I think. So let's try to talk it through like football people sort of. So with Devontae Adams out, with MVS out, with Lazard out, you'd like to think that the touchdown equity is a little less, especially with Adams out. So maybe I don't know, maybe you could try the kicker in this game from the Packers, in case they they're just not going to be able to get the ball in. So he's only 4K. I'm not as interested in the Arizona kicker. I just feel they're going to go for it every 4th. I don't know.
No, fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So I'm kind of interested in the. I don't think that Green Bay can plan on winning a big shootout in this game. I think that, and you don't think that about Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers as a team that wants to kind of just slow it down. But I think in a matchup like this, without your top weapons, I'm starting to feel as though that's what they're going to just try to do. I mean, they're going to try to just slam it in with Aaron Jones if possible, and just be somewhat conservative. And that's not really Aaron Rodgers' style. But maybe we should focus on the Aaron Jones, the AJ Dillon, and then maybe like the Robert Tanyans. You know what I mean? As the top guys out of the receiving core. And then, maybe to stick with that conservative game plan approach, maybe play Mason Crosby and play for where normally if you have Devontae Adams and it's 4th and 3 at the 36, you know what I mean? They'll go for it probably. But maybe without Devontae Adams, maybe they won't bring Mason Crosby in for the extra long bonus field goal. I don't know. I'm just trying to find.
I like the Crosby idea because no one's going to do it because you have these high end. You have the number 1 and 2 receivers are going to cost if there's no MVS,
Right.
they're going to cost combined 4,000.
Not to mention
So-
AJ Dillon at 1,400. So,
Yeah, so that's why people aren't going to want to do it. But
yeah.
I kind of agree with there's no reason Mason Crosby can't end up with 12 to 13 points, and you can play him with one of the receivers,
Right.
with Aaron Rodgers, who maybe Aaron Rodgers throws a touchdown and runs one in,
Yeah.
and they kick 3 field goals. You know what I mean? That's very reasonable, especially for a Thursday night game. So I kind of like that idea on the Green Bay side. I just think it's illogical. Like if I was going to ask you, if you're going to ask me who scores more points, it would be
Right.
the receivers.
Right.
But at the same time, Mason Crosby's surely good enough for what's the low end he's going to get you here. I guess he could get
6.
you 6 or so. Yeah, 5 or 6 maybe. Yeah, I kind of like that. I can kind of get on board with that, but I think I'm going to lean, more towards trying to use one of Randall Cobb. I do think Randall Cobb is a reasonable captain option. And I would be right now, if I really thought MVS was not going to play, I would be hammering the over on the props on Randall Cobb, 4.5 receptions, 46.5 yards, which is already good enough for a decent game at his price. Anyway,
Kind of hard to not play Kyler Murray, right?
Yeah, it's hard not to play Kyler Murray. I would say that would probably not be a great fade. But if you don't, you can play James Conner or Chase Edmonds. I prefer Conner a little bit because he'll be lower owned, and Chase Edmonds basically never gets in the end zone. So that would be my. Has Chase Edmonds even been in the end zone once this year? I don't think he has. That's crazy. Whereas James Conner basically is only end zone type stuff. But he's got 6 rushing touchdowns this year, and compared to the 0 of James Conner. So it's going to be a tricky build. We need to find out about that information before we can certainly, figure it out. I do kind of agree with you that Green Bay might do that, but Aaron Rodgers is so good at spreading the ball around. It might take his receivers making a mistake or two before he stops throwing the ball.
The other guy, by the way, it's funny. I didn't realize how expensive he was, so I don't really want to take a victory lap on this. But remember last week when Arizona first picked up Ertz, my comment in this when we were talking about that game was it's like the perfect game for them to just make sure that Ertz gets a touchdown his first game.
That's what I said too. Yeah,
and they did. They gave him a rushing touchdown.
No, he caught a big play touchdown.
Oh, I thought that he would. I thought he had a rushing touchdown.
No. They did run the ball with him one time though.
Oh, okay.
They did.
Oh,
They threw
okay.
a big down
So,
play.
so they got him one, and 16 fantasy points, not great for 6,600. I thought it was cheaper for some reason. I guess not. He was really 6,600.
No, he was 37. It's different.
He was like 3,700, right?
The one game slate. The prices have nothing to do with that.
So when they cite what his salary was.
No, you never have salaries on Thursday. Like if you're going to play Thursday through Sunday, then you'll have the regular salaries. These are not normal salaries sheets. Kyler Murray's never been 12,000. It can never be 12,000. Aaron Rodgers can never be 11,400. Nobody can ever be the prices that they are here.
Right. Well, I'm just saying. I thought that when you pull up the DraftKings and you list what their salary was, that's what it was.
It was 3,700.
Okay.
What does it say?
It says 6,600.
That was for a showdown.
Oh, okay. Oh, so that's what they do. They list what he was first. Okay.
I'm guessing that's why they're showing it.
I don't know what that is because I know he wasn't 6,600.
Yeah, I would never look at DraftKings things as a tool because
I'll just ask you next time.
Yeah.
So do you think he's back in play, Ertz?
Yeah. I think you want to try and force in one of the Arizona receivers because they're going to be the lower owned part of this game. And Ertz and Rondale Moore will be the lowest owned. So I actually like that idea. But yeah, I could definitely get behind that actually.
What about another guy from last week who just I can't believe it. He caught like a 50-yard pass was AJ Green.
Well, AJ Green's been unbelievable this year, but
that's amazing. It's just
he's
amazing.
Fine, but he's I would rather play Rondale Moore, but he's AJ Green's a great receiver. They just have a bunch of them.
I'll tell you who I don't really want to play. I don't want to play the defenses today.
Yeah, I if I did, I would be the Green Bay defense for me.
Just because there's more variance in plays and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, Well, yeah, in Arizona, well, I mean, Kyler, I love him. He's amazing, but he will occasionally, make a mistake and throw some picks.
Right.
But I don't think I'm going to play the defenses either.
Yeah.
It is going to be a tough sledding for Green Bay with this situation. And honestly, you could that's one thing you could do to get weird is you could play Tanyan and Mercedes Lewis. That's something I don't think anyone will.
Does Mercedes Lewis actually get targets still?
Hardly ever, but when he does, they're usually near the goal line. He had he's had 2 catches, 3 catches, 2 catches, 2 targets, his last games. And I don't think it's the worst idea in the world. I mean, you're trying to get something different, right? But they don't have any receivers.
Right. I remember
if you're missing your top 3 receivers, that's a tough call. You're going to throw the ball. They do that sometimes with the double tight end sets. It's tough. It's really hard to know these early in the morning. I hate, I'm happy we do them because I think we should offer whatever we can.
Yeah.
But I hate doing them because it's a bunch of me wish-washing because there's no idea you have no idea what's going to happen. You have no idea even who's playing or who's going to be announced as the receivers that are in. I don't know. It's like
so once again, I think it is very important then to just continue to do this. Just this summary of how to play Showdown, just for the people who are just showing up for the first time, is just in general, these have like a billion entries in them, and if you're playing a lineup that looks like really, really logical, probably shouldn't play it. Just because it's probably going to be like a zillion% owned, unless, right, you do something like leave like maybe a couple of thousand on the table, or maybe not even that much, but let's say even 1,200-1,300 on the table.
No, I think that's fair. A couple thousand. Yeah.
No, you could leave a couple of thousand on the table. I'm just saying you don't have to leave like that much. Right. My point is that if you do that, then you can play what looks like a logical lineup, because it's then possible that you're not splitting it with a billion people. But like if you're maxing out your salary, you're getting like Kyler Murray, like that lineup I put up at the beginning. It's just even that one that's leaving 1,200 on the table is probably going to be duped 100 times.
Right.
And dude, I'll chop it with 9 people. That's fine. I really don't want to feel like chopping with 100.
Right.
So overall, I think that's the most important thing we could talk about in these Showdown slates. And then at the end, then it's fun at the end when we get the late news, and maybe we get some coach speak a little later. We could talk a little more about it. But in the end, if I showed you my the 20 lineups I'm going to run in these things, you're going to look at them and say, really? And you know what? Because when I look at them, I'm going to say, really? And that's unfortunately, what you kind of have to do. Now, again, you don't want to play just like 2 backup quarterbacks and 2 backup kickers, right? And you don't want to do that either. That's kind of the art, is figuring out what is an illogical looking lineup that actually has a chance,
Right.
So what looks illogical but might actually be logical. I guess that's right. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
No, that makes sense.
Okay. Anything else before we get out of here?
No, I just would re-encourage everybody to try and get different, to try and cram in one of the Arizona receivers and potentially even captain them, and Ertz is included in that, because I think that's going to be the lower owned way people go today. All
right. Well, we'll see you guys. We're doing a live show at 6, which gives an encompass for the most part NBA, but we'll squeeze some NFL stuff in. If you come there with legitimately good NFL questions, I'm sure that we'll be happy to answer them.
Be more than ready once we know who's playing. It gives you a whole different. Isn't it amazing, Sheets, how much of a difference it matters when you know who's playing?
It is. It really takes a decent amount of variance away, and it just adds a little bit more too.
It really does make a big difference. And believe me, that's coming from a guy who's occasionally played guys who aren't playing.
That's true.
All right. Well, good luck, everybody. I hope somebody takes it down a big one. Me and Rhodey will be recording our NFL video for the weekend this evening, so be ready for that. And let's have a good weekend. Let's pull a Sheets. Let's all jump on Sheets' coattails and start winning some tournaments like this guy does. He just wins the two other sports going. Yesterday, he wins the 2 tournaments at the same day. And
sounds good to me. Sounds good to me.
Sounds good. All right. Good luck, everybody.
Later. All right. I'll see you at 6.
Sounds good, man.
Okay. And I'll upload this stuff.